Foreign worker dormitories with at least 7 beds must comply with the Foreign Employee Dormitories Act, otherwise known as FEDA, from April next year. FEDA currently applies only to dorms that house 1,000 or more workers. It's part of efforts to raise operating standards and impose requirements to manage disease outbreaks. More than 180,000 workers stand to benefit from this move. Chloe Chu reports.
Having additional isolation facilities to better manage future disease outbreaks, and even deploying personnel to manage the traffic situation on the ground. These are some new requirements which smaller dormitory operators will have to comply with. They'll be subject to 4 different classes of licenses, depending on their size. For example, dorms with 7 to 99 beds will have to provide a list of their residents to the Manpower Ministry for contact tracing, among other requirements. Larger dorms will have to improve recreation amenities, organize events, and submit regular management reports to MOM. Around 50 dorms with more than 1,000 beds are already subject to FEDA, but the change will bring this up to 1,600 dorms. MOM says the expansion of FEDA will bring them under a single regulatory and enforcement framework. It's all in a bid to contain future outbreaks more quickly and improve living standards within such facilities.
We will work closely with our stakeholders on the progressive implementation of FEDA over the next 2 years to minimize any disruption to dormitory operations and also to any interference of the migrant workers that are staying there.
While the expansion of FEDA could see a rise in costs, the Dormitory Association of Singapore Limited says it's manageable.
What a lot of owner-operators are concerned at this point in time is the potential increase in costs. However, after discussions with the relevant government authorities, we are of the view that it is manageable, right? The expansion of FEDA at this point in time pertains mainly to a lot of improvements in terms of management.
The association adds that it'll roll out a series of training programs and briefing sessions with MOM to bring the industry up to a common standard. As for those with fewer than 7 occupants, they will not be affected by the change, as they're already regulated under the Employment of Foreign Manpower Act.
Extra costs are the biggest concern dormitory operators have when it comes to the upcoming changes under the expanded Foreign Employee Dormitories Act, or FEDA. Now, they say that higher inflation has already driven up the cost of manpower and utilities, among others. And now, increased spending in admin and training could mean clients end up paying more. Brandon Tanoto with more.
Local scaffolding firm Vinders Engineering runs this factory-converted dormitory, which has 200 beds. But the requirements it'll need to meet under the expansion of FEDA could affect its operations and earnings.
There will be a big reduce in the bed space that's catered for company operation. We have to came out maybe some additional costs to actually maybe restructure the dormitories, to actually fit the requirement. It's not going to be easy, whereby, especially in this timing whereby inflation is on the rise, and actually we are also facing shortage of manpower for general cleanliness.
Its sentiments about incurring additional expenses are similar to other dormitory operators too. S11 explains that while these additional costs will mainly be for administrative purposes, money will still need to be forked out.
We will have to go through some kind of training, for our staff, to familiarize them with the new requirements. There will be potentially new systems, and processes that you need to set in place, to be able to monitor, some of these requirements.
While both operators welcome the changes, they point out that the potential increase in costs will have to be passed on to clients.
It is inevitable, that the cost, is translated into, an increase in rental, let's say for example, to our tenants. But I think that with that said, new contracts, are also tendered, at much higher prices. We have seen, some of the construction tenders, starting to inch up in prices, right? Because they themselves, have other costs. They are seeing other costs, which have increased, not just accommodation, material costs, globally has increased.
For now, the Manpower Ministry says it will work closely with stakeholders on the progressive implementation of FEDA over the next 2 years to minimize any disruption to dormitory operations.